Is being overly kind actually more harmful than helpful? In a world that often equates kindness with virtue, it might seem counterintuitive to suggest that there's such a thing as too much generosity. Yet, stepping back and examining the philosophy of Stoicism, we find a framework that emphasizes balance, wisdom, and self-care, hinting that perhaps our compulsions to always be nice might actually lead us astray from personal well-being and rational living. Stoicism teaches us about the importance of maintaining emotional resilience and not letting external factors overly influence our inner peace. When we constantly prioritize the needs and desires of others over our own, are we truly living a balanced life? Stoic principles suggest that true wisdom comes from understanding the limits of our generosity and ensuring that our acts of kindness do not compromise our own moral and emotional stability. This conversation isn't just philosophical, it's deeply practical. It touches on everyday situations where our inability to say no or our relentless pursuit to please can lead us into emotional exhaustion, strained relationships, and lost opportunities for personal growth. By delving into the potential pitfalls of excessive kindness, we aren't dismissing the value of compassion and generosity. Instead, we're exploring how to apply these qualities judiciously, ensuring that they contribute to our happiness and the well-being of those around us, rather than becoming sources of stress and resentment. This approach resonates deeply with the Stoic idea that virtue lies in moderation and that the wisdom of our choices reflects our understanding of life's complexities. Let's unfold this intriguing paradox together. How can the very kindness meant to bind us to others sometimes end up isolating us? How does our desire to be liked or needed sometimes lead us away from making decisions that align with our true selves? As we navigate these questions, we'll uncover insights on how to harness the strengths of kindness while guarding against its excesses, fostering a life of balance, fulfillment, and true Stoic wisdom. So, as always, if you appreciate what we're doing here, simple free favor I'll ask from you is to hit the subscribe button. Let's go. Number 1. Emotional burnout. This is more than just a temporary feeling of tiredness. It's a complete state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion brought on by prolonged stress, often a direct result of the relentless effort to meet the emotional needs of others at the expense of one's own. The Stoic philosophy, which prizes moderation and self-regulation, warns us of the dangers of losing ourselves to outward duties and the expectations of others. Stoics believe that our first responsibility is to ourselves, not in a selfish way, but in a manner that ensures we are strong, stable, and capable before we attempt to assist others. Marcus Aurelius often spoke about the importance of maintaining one's own character in the face of external pressures. He advocated for a life lived with virtue and reasoned choice, which inherently includes knowing when to draw boundaries. In practice, emotional burnout manifests when you find yourself constantly being the shoulder to lean on, the ever-available listener, or the perennial problem solver. Initially, this role might make you feel valued and needed. However, the chronic stress from continuous emotional labor can lead to symptoms like irritability, reduced performance at work, feelings of detachment, and a dwindling sense of personal accomplishment. This is not just a psychological effect. It's a physiological one that can lead to real health consequences, such as insomnia, headaches, and a weakened immune system. From a Stoic perspective, maintaining emotional resilience is key. This resilience can be nurtured by developing a more objective view of our engagements with others. The Stoics teach us to distinguish between what is truly within our control and what is not. In the context of kindness, this means understanding that while you can offer support, You cannot control others' actions, nor can you bear the full weight of their emotional burdens without depleting your own resources. To combat emotional burnout, it's crucial to set realistic expectations for both yourself and others about what you can give, and to recognize when to step back. It involves acknowledging that true kindness also means being kind to oneself. It's about striking a balance where compassion does not become self-sacrifice. This balance is what Stoicism aims to achieve, ensuring that our efforts to help others do not lead us to neglect our well-being, thereby preserving our ability to be a force for good in the long run. Number 2. Hindrance to personal growth. Stoicism teaches us that personal growth is not merely an optional pursuit, but a necessary part of living a fulfilled and virtuous life. It advocates for the idea that we must be guardians of our own lives, shaping them through reasoned choices and deliberate actions. When we consistently prioritize the needs and wants of others over our own, we might initially feel a sense of purpose and fulfillment. However, this external focus can gradually lead us away from attending to our inner growth. This might manifest as neglecting our hobbies, educational pursuits, or even stalling our career progress, because we're too busy helping others to navigate their own challenges. This redirection of energy is where Stoicism offers valuable insight. The philosophy argues that while it is virtuous to help others, one must not do so at the cost of their own moral and intellectual development. In the Stoic view, personal growth involves cultivating virtues such as wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation. Each of these is essential not only in personal conduct, but also in how we interact with others. When our actions consistently lean towards excessive altruism, we risk losing sight of these virtues by failing to set boundaries or pursue justice for ourselves. We might avoid confrontations or necessary conflicts that foster growth out of a desire to remain amiable or overly accommodating. Moreover, excessive kindness can lead to a stagnation where personal goals are not just deferred, but forgotten. This stagnation can create a life that feels unbalanced and unfulfilling. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, spoke about the shortness of life and the importance of living it in a way that reflects our deepest values and aspirations. He warned against squandering our time on pursuits that do not align with our fundamental nature and personal ambitions. It is crucial to practice self-reflection, to regularly assess whether our kindness is enriching our lives or impeding our growth. It involves asking ourselves tough questions about whether we are truly making choices that align with our values or simply reacting to the needs of others. It's about ensuring that our generosity does not lead to self-neglect. To avoid this pitfall, Stoicism doesn't advocate for withdrawing kindness, but suggests a more balanced approach, where self-care and personal ambitions are not overshadowed by the desire to help others. This balanced approach ensures that our acts of kindness are sustainable and that they contribute positively not only to the lives of others, but also to our own continuous growth and well-being. In essence, Stoicism teaches us to nurture our own garden first, to better serve the gardens of those around us with vigor and wisdom. Number 3. Attraction of manipulative relationships. When we extend kindness without boundaries, it can sometimes be misinterpreted as a weakness or a perpetual openness to demands, regardless of their reasonableness or our own capacity to give. This can attract individuals who are less interested in mutual respect and more in what they can gain. Such relationships are not only detrimental, but are fundamentally at odds with Stoic teachings, which value mutual respect and justice. Epictetus argued that while it is important to be benevolent, one must also be discerning. He believed that wisdom lies in understanding whom to help and how much help to offer, guiding us to avoid enabling others' negative traits such as greed or dependency. This discernment prevents relationships where one's kindness is repeatedly exploited for others' gain. In practical terms, being excessively nice without setting clear boundaries can lead to a cycle where one continually attracts and retains relationships with people who see kindness not as a virtue to reciprocate, but as an opportunity to exploit. Such relationships are often one-sided, leaving the giver drained and the taker continually wanting more. Marcus Aurelius reflected on the importance of acting with both kindness and prudence. He advised that we should not only consider whether our actions are good, but also whether they contribute positively to our life and to the common good. This Stoic perspective is crucial because it emphasizes the importance of balancing our desire to be kind with the necessity of protecting our well-being. To navigate away from forming or sustaining manipulative relationships, Stoicism encourages the establishment of firm boundaries and the cultivation of self-respect. It teaches that true kindness also involves kindness towards oneself, which includes not allowing one's generosity to be misused. By adopting a Stoic approach to relationships, we learn to offer help that is not only generous but also wise, ensuring that our kindness is sustainable and truly beneficial for both parties involved. This balanced approach helps cultivate relationships that are based on genuine respect and mutual support, rather than exploitation and manipulation. Number 4. Compromised decision-making. Stoicism stresses the importance of making decisions based on rational thought rather than emotional impulses. When kindness overrules rational judgment, it can lead to decisions that may not serve one's best interests or align with one's true values. Excessive kindness can cloud one's judgment, leading to a tendency to make decisions that prioritize others' happiness over one's own well-being. This can manifest in various ways, such as agreeing to commitments that clash with personal or professional goals, or foregoing opportunities that would involve putting oneself before others. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus emphasized the significance of using reason as the guiding principle in life, cautioning against allowing emotions to dictate our decisions. This Stoic principle is crucial when we consider how compromised decision-making can lead to a life that feels unfulfilling or misaligned with one's aspirations. In practical terms, when you consistently place others' needs and desires above your own, you may find yourself engaged in activities that neither contribute to your personal growth nor bring you satisfaction. This is where the Stoic practice of self-examination becomes valuable. By regularly assessing whether our decisions reflect our true priorities and values, we can begin to correct course and ensure that our kindness is both wise and measured. Seneca argued that true freedom comes from living in accordance with one's own principles and having the courage to say no when necessary. This ability to refuse, to make choices that are in our best interest even when they might disappoint others, is a form of self-respect and an essential aspect of Stoic wisdom. For those who find themselves frequently compromising their decision-making for the sake of kindness, Stoicism offers a pathway towards reclaiming autonomy over one's choices. It encourages developing a balanced approach where kindness is delivered not at the expense of one's happiness or moral code, but in harmony with them. By striving to maintain this balance, we can enhance our ability to make decisions that are not only kind but also wise and virtuous, truly reflecting the Stoic ideal of living a well-reasoned life. Number 5. Loss of genuine relationships. This is a significant risk when kindness is dispensed without discernment or balance. Stoicism also teaches the importance of fostering authentic and meaningful connections with others. When kindness is overly extended without boundaries, it can paradoxically lead to superficial relationships that lack depth and genuine mutual respect. Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius emphasized the value of genuine human connections as part of leading a fulfilling life. However, they also cautioned against allowing our desire to please others to override our own needs and principles. When we are overly accommodating, always saying yes to avoid conflict or displeasure, we may end up hiding our true feelings and opinions. This suppression can prevent the development of true intimacy, where both parties feel safe to express themselves fully and honestly. Excessive people-pleasing can lead to relationships where one's real personality and needs are obscured. People may come to like and depend on us not for who we are, but for what we can do for them. This dynamic can be deeply unsatisfying and may foster resentment over time. Epictetus, another influential Stoic, would argue that true relationships require a mutual understanding and respect that can only come from honest and open interaction. He taught that it's crucial to maintain a sense of self-respect and assertiveness about one's own needs and desires. Moreover, the loss of genuine relationships isn't just about failing to connect on a deeper level. It's also about the risk of not being truly known or understood by others. When our interactions are primarily based on a facade of agreeableness, we deprive ourselves and others of the opportunity to engage in a more meaningful and enriching exchange. Seneca, reflecting on the nature of friendship and social interaction, noted that the most rewarding relationships are those where both friends can be entirely frank and where mutual criticism is not only possible but encouraged. To cultivate genuine relationships, Stoicism advises us to practice moderation in our kindness, ensuring it is thoughtful and not merely reactive. It encourages us to establish boundaries that help define how much we are willing to give and to whom. By doing so, we not only protect our well-being, but also invite a level of interaction that is more sincere and rewarding. This Stoic balance allows for relationships that are not only based on kindness, but also enriched by authenticity and mutual respect, leading to deeper and more fulfilling connections. Number 6. Psychological impacts. Stoicism teaches the importance of maintaining emotional equilibrium. Excessive kindness can disrupt this balance, leading to feelings of resentment, increased anxiety, and even depression. These feelings stem from consistently putting others' needs before one's own, which can lead to a sense of loss of self. The Stoic philosophers like Seneca and Epictetus advised that while it is noble to be kind, it is equally important to ensure that such actions do not compromise one's own emotional health. When we continually act with excessive kindness, we might start to feel that our own needs are less important or that we are not entitled to assert them. This suppression of self-needs and desires can lead to a build-up of internal pressure as we are not addressing or acknowledging our feelings. This can manifest psychologically as increased stress, a feeling of being overwhelmed, and eventually burnout. The Stoics would argue that true wisdom involves recognizing and addressing one's needs with the same vigor with which we attend to others. Moreover, the pressure to maintain this facade of perpetual generosity can lead to a constant state of anxiety over potentially disappointing others. This aligns with the Stoic belief that peace comes from living according to reason, not from living according to others' expectations. Excessive kindness can also lead to a diminished sense of self-worth, as it may seem that our value to others is solely based on our utility to them rather than on who we are as individuals. To mitigate these psychological impacts, Stoicism encourages practicing self-awareness, reflecting on our motivations and the consequences of our excessively kind actions. This self-reflection helps to cultivate a more balanced approach to kindness, one that includes being kind to oneself. Marcus Aurelius, a proponent of Stoic thought, emphasized the need to act in alignment with one's own virtues and reason, suggesting that we should not only consider how our actions affect others, but how they affect our own state of mind and emotional health. While Stoicism values kindness and the betterment of society, it also champions the idea of personal well-being. The philosophy advocates for a balanced approach where acts of kindness are performed not at the expense of one's psychological health, but in conjunction with it, ensuring that our generosity enriches rather than depletes us. Number 7. Mental health risks. Excessive kindness can lead to mental health challenges such as depression and anxiety. This occurs when the desire to be perpetually generous and accommodating leads to neglecting one's own emotional and psychological needs. Stoic philosophy, which advocates for a life of virtue balanced with self-awareness and personal well-being, suggests that ignoring one's own needs in favor of others can disrupt internal harmony and lead to emotional turmoil. The Stoics believed in the concept of apatheia, or freedom from distress, which is achieved not by avoiding emotions, but by managing them wisely. When we consistently prioritize others at the expense of our well-being, we may find ourselves feeling unappreciated or overwhelmed, which can erode our mental health. This situation illustrates a departure from Stoic wisdom, which would counsel us to guard against overextending ourselves to the point of mental fatigue. Moreover, the pressure to maintain a facade of unending kindness can also lead to a lack of authentic self-expression, contributing to feelings of isolation and loneliness. These feelings are potent risk factors for mental health disorders such as depression. The Stoic approach to this would be to encourage individuals to express their true feelings and needs, thereby maintaining an authentic connection with oneself and with others. Stoicism also offers a pathway to resilience through its emphasis on reflection and self-examination. By regularly assessing our motivations and emotional states, we can identify when our acts of kindness might be serving others at the cost of our mental health. This self-reflection enables us to set healthier boundaries and engage in kindness in a way that is also kind to ourselves. In handling these mental health risks, Stoicism doesn't advocate for less kindness, but for a more balanced approach where acts of generosity are weighed against personal health and happiness. This balance is crucial in preventing the negative spiral into mental health difficulties and ensuring that our desire to help others doesn't hurt us. Thus, by integrating Stoic wisdom into our approach to kindness, we can protect our mental health while still contributing positively to the lives of others. Number 8. Self-neglect. When we consistently prioritize the needs of others over our own, we risk falling into patterns of self-neglect. This can manifest in several ways: neglecting physical health by skipping meals or sleep to help others, ignoring emotional health by suppressing feelings to maintain peace, or sidelining personal growth by foregoing opportunities that would require time away from caretaking duties. Such behaviors, though often well-intentioned, are at odds with the Stoic principle of oikeiosis, which pertains to the appropriate care for oneself in order to live a rational and harmonious life. The Stoics, particularly philosophers like Epictetus and Seneca, emphasized the necessity of self-regard not as a selfish act, but as a fundamental aspect of human well-being. They argued that one cannot truly be of service to others if one's own well-being is compromised. From this perspective, self-neglect is not only detrimental to the individual, but also to the community, since an individual who is unwell or unhappy cannot effectively contribute to the welfare of others. Stoicism teaches that wisdom lies in recognizing what is within our control and what is not. When we neglect ourselves in the course of helping others, we are ignoring our primary sphere of control, ourselves. This misalignment can lead to frustration and resentment, which Stoics would argue stems from a misunderstanding of where one's duties truly lie. According to Stoic philosophy, our first duty is to care for our own rational and moral health, as this is directly within our control and forms the basis from which all our actions should flow. To combat self-neglect, Stoicism encourages the practice of self-reflection and moderation. It teaches that caring for oneself is not a retreat from altruism, but a prerequisite for it. By ensuring we are well, physically and emotionally, we are better equipped to help others effectively and without resentment. This balance between self-care and care for others is what enables us to live according to nature, fulfilling our responsibilities to both ourselves and to our community in a sustainable and rational manner. Integrating Stoic practices into our lives encourages us not to diminish our kindness, but to extend it inward as well as outward. This approach ensures that our acts of kindness are not acts of self-harm, but are instead expressions of a well-considered, balanced virtue that includes self-respect and self-compassion. This holistic approach to kindness enriches not only our lives, but also the lives of those around us, fostering a community where everyone's needs are genuinely respected and cared for. One of the core Stoic strategies is the practice of self-awareness. This involves regular self-reflection to examine our motives, the impact of our actions on ourselves and others, and whether our acts of kindness are truly beneficial or if they stem from a desire for approval or fear of conflict. By cultivating self-awareness, we can better discern when our kindness is genuinely needed and when it may be compromising our well-being or personal growth. Marcus Aurelius frequently wrote about the importance of examining one's intentions and ensuring they align with rational principles and personal virtue. Another key strategy is setting and enforcing healthy boundaries. This is crucial for maintaining our well-being while helping others. Boundaries help define how much we can give without harming ourselves and signal to others what is acceptable and what is not. This Stoic practice is not about being less kind, but about being wise in our kindness. By clearly communicating our limits, we can still offer support to others without depleting our own resources. Epictetus emphasized the importance of focusing on what is within our control, and maintaining our boundaries is a direct application of this teaching. Moderation in all actions, including kindness, is another Stoic principle that applies here. The Stoics believed that excess of any kind could lead to imbalance and moral decay. By practicing moderation, we ensure that our kindness is thoughtful and appropriate to the situation, rather than compulsive or reactive. This approach helps us remain centered and keeps our acts of kindness aligned with our capabilities and true intentions. Furthermore, embracing the virtue of courage, as advised by Stoic philosophy, enables us to kindly yet firmly say no when necessary. This is often one of the hardest aspects of balanced kindness, particularly for those who fear displeasing others. However, Stoicism teaches that moral courage, the courage to act rightly according to reason, is essential for a virtuous life. Practicing this courage helps us resist the pressure to always acquiesce to others' demands, and teaches us that true kindness sometimes involves denying requests that would cause harm to ourselves or enable others' unhealthy dependencies. Lastly, Stoicism encourages us to cultivate gratitude and contentment with what we have, which can temper the urge to seek validation through incessant giving. By appreciating our own lives and valuing ourselves, we are less likely to use kindness as a tool for external approval and more likely to act out of genuine care and rational decision-making. By integrating these Stoic strategies into our daily lives, we can enjoy the benefits of being kind and generous without the drawbacks of overextending ourselves. This balanced approach not only protects our well-being, but also makes our kindness more effective and appreciated, ultimately leading to healthier and more fulfilling relationships. As we close today's exploration into the nuanced world of kindness, remember, the true strength of Stoicism lies in nurturing not only the relationships around us, but also the relationship we have with ourselves. It's not about giving less, but about giving wisely, ensuring that our generosity enriches our lives as much as it does those of others. Thank you for joining us on this exploration at Stoic Journal. Your engagement enriches our community and aids in our collective pursuit of a balanced, thoughtful life. For more insights into living with virtue, please check out one of our suggested videos on the screen. Continue to grow, reflect, and cultivate the best within yourself.